Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are starting a little bit early. If you showed up late, go into the frame of your watch page and click on 1.5 speed. That will get you caught up to the live show. We're starting early today because we're going to go all the way back to June 1st, 2015, an entire decade ago. And we're going to watch some of these decodes that we did on the date 9/23, which of course is today. Now, it's hard to imagine that we've been watching this date for an entire decade, but that's the truth. And this is why I don't get too excited anymore about September 23rd, as many new people in the truth community kind of go down the rabbit hole and they find some things and they start seeing these Easter eggs that have appeared in films throughout the last decade and decades before that. And they believe that something's going to happen. And unfortunately, people have gotten into the habit of saying they know for sure something's going to happen, and then nothing happens. And that can continue to undermine people's faith about the future. This is why I don't rapture, date set, and all these things, because so many people have come and gone. And at the end of it all, if you keep waiting for the rapture to happen and it doesn't happen over and over again, it's kind of like crying wolf, isn't it? Now, of course, we know that Jesus is coming back. The only question is, are some people going to be left behind, and will there be another coming after that where the rest of us are saved, but some of us have to go through the tribulation and some don't? I'm of the mindset that I'm ready for either scenario. Obviously, the interpretation of the Bible can be a subject of subjectivity. And so I try not to make absolutes about anything. But the best way for us believers to move forward is to be ready for anything. And hey, if God rescues us from pain that other people are going to have to go through, which I don't think he will, but if he does, that's great. But you should also be ready to weather the storm. As all of the other biblical patriarchs had to do, going back through history, people that were, much, much more faithful than we are in this sinful generation, with all of the things that the devil and his devil's vices and all of the temptations and all the stuff we see on TV and movies, they didn't have all that back then, did they? And I think people were probably able to be more pious than we are now. And so those are my thoughts on all of that. Now, this year is a little bit different. This 9/23 is a little bit different because this is of course, the new year, or in some people define this as the Hebrew New Year, Rosh Hashanah. And so that it is falling on 9/23, which is happening right now. Now, will something happen today? Won't it? I don't claim to know that. But here's what we can do. We can look back in time throughout the decade and all the research we've done each 9/23, and maybe there are some clues about what this date is all about. So yes, today we will be time traveling, as they say. And by the way, full disclosure, which you'll see in some of these early decodes going back the 10 years, we realized that my birthday was an inversion of the number 9/23. 3/29 is my birthday, March 29th. It's the 88th day of the year. And so there is some kind of portal aspect to this, if you want to think of it that way. And no, I don't think I'm a time traveler, but it is interesting that, Emmett Doc Brown from Back to the Future was opposing Donald Trump Biff. So that's kind of an interesting aspect to it. I don't know how all this fits in. I just do what the Most High tells me to do. And so all this will shake out as it's supposed to. And all will be revealed. It is promised that all will be revealed. Now, way back in 2014, this number 88, again, 3/29 is the 88th day of the year, we had discovered that the 88 was starting to repeat. It was starting to emerge in all these weird places that you could never imagine that the number 88 would emerge from. One of the first discoveries in 2014 was that Washington, D.C. actually aligns to exactly 88 degrees. Then shortly after that, the Queen of England turned 88 years old. And then we start seeing 88s everywhere. There was even a con-op Plan 8888 about zombies. And of course, the rest is history on this channel regarding the 88s. And it wasn't long after that we started seeing more of the 923s everywhere as well. Now, let's go back to this very first instance. This was 2015, and we were decoding the film Tomorrowland. And then we'll go on from there. We're going to go through this playlist. There's 9 videos in the playlist. We're not going to watch them all in their entirety. We're going to kind of skip through. So please bear with me as I'm skipping through the videos so that we can get to the meat of these decodes. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're not going to watch the chats and everything after the shows. We're just going to try to move through these and get through it. This might be a little bit longer show today. So we could go for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but we'll see how quickly we can get through these. So this is Tomorrowland. Let's take a look. Now, this character in Tomorrowland, interestingly, her name is Casey.
Baby, show me.
It's video. I know
Video.
Okay, go ahead, sweetie.
Do you think, Casey?
That's Sirius. That's Canopus. That's Arcturus. Radiocatarus. Vega. Procyon. Capella. Betelgeuse.
Why do you love the stars so much, Casey? Why do you love the stars so much, Casey? Why do you love the stars so much, Casey?
Because I want to go there.
They're so far away.
It'll take a long time, a real long time. But if you get all the way up there, there's nothing.
What if there's everything?
Oh, boy. What? You're going to go through your entire childhood?
You started when you were a kid. I'm just giving them
Leave it
context.
alone, okay? They don't have all day.
Enter the stars, the 88 constellations. We're going to take a look at Tomorrowland, and I'll tell you why. This film stars George Clooney, but the main character in this film, her name is Casey Newton. That is her character, played by Britt Robertson. This is Britt Robertson. She was born on April 18th, 1990, which is the 108th day of the year. The anti-date of that date is my daughter's birthday, September 14th, which has 108 days left until the end of the year. This date of September 14th for 2015, this year, falls on Tishri 1, the Hebrew New Year. Whoa. The date Whoa. that Jesus. Wow, that's kind of creepy. And here we are back at the Hebrew New Year, 2025. Spooky. Let's keep watching. Was born on 9/11, and I believe 6 BC. He was born on the Hebrew New Year in 6 BC. That date fell on September 11th. This year it falls on September 14th. So you can imagine that this film will be full of symbolism. Now I want to clarify, this isn't to elevate me. This is simply an acknowledgement of the synchronicities within these films, and that somehow all of this fits together. Now, this film is about time travel. It had 2 release dates, May 8th and May 22nd. These dates are significant as well. May 8th being the 128th day of the year with 237 left. This encodes the life of the World Trade Center. 28 total years, opened in 1973. It's weird how the whole Charlie Kirk thing and, happening on the eve of 9/11, spooky. Let's keep watching. May 22nd, the other release date, has 322 days left until the end of the year. That's 322 backwards, skull and bones. Let's take a closer look at this film. Now, there's been some fear about the date of 9/23, September 23rd. And this film opens with a time of 9/23, as you can see here. As the clock counts down from that time down to 9/22. Now, the 63 in this film is the year, because 1964 is when the film opens, according to Wikipedia. It is a flashback to 1964, Frank Walker. Now, some people are also looking at the date of 9/24. I've heard 9/23 and 9/24. When you convert 9/24 from the Gregorian to the Julian, it falls on 9/11. We already discussed that September 14th is the Hebrew New Year, this year in 2015. And now we have this aspect of the prophecy date that many, again, have cited as 923 or 924 being the date of some cataclysmic event. Now, I want to preface this by saying that when it comes to these kinds of prophecies, I'm not a prophet. I am more a Bible scholar, someone who looks at the past and exposes the work of the enemy. Okay, and through that process, it builds your faith. You understand the difference between black and white. You understand the difference between God and Satan, good and evil. You can clearly see it, and it helps you to move forward in your life, making wiser choices. That's my purpose here. I'm not a prophet. So I'm not saying that nothing's going to happen on this date. But what I'm saying is there are some strange synchronicities on this date, and there's no need for fear. God has our spirit. Whatever happens to us, that means our journey is over. We go to a better place. If you truly believe that in your heart, then there is no need for fear. There's no need to worry about wars and death and all those things. It's a matter of faith. Now, this is crazy. Every few seconds, they keep pausing the clock and interjecting commentary. And they pause the clock at 9:22:44. We've done a lot of work on the number 44, Barack Obama being the 44th president, February 13th being the 44th day of the year, the beginning of Lupercalia, and of course 44 being half of 88. And so they've paused the clock here. Now, we're not going to show much of this actual movie because if we do, it's going to get. Okay, so another revelation, right? Barack Obama, half of 88, he's 44, the 44 president, and then Trump was the 88 president, right? So it's all making sense. It's the duality. 44, black president, 88, white president. Interesting. Let's keep watching here. Blocked, and no one's going to be able to watch it. So mostly we're going to be limited to screenshots here in my commentary, and you'll have to watch the film for yourself to verify. To them, Saturn is just another planet. But with all the research that we've done on the planet Saturn, as well as many other channels, we understand that there is a hexagonal feature on the north pole of Saturn, and that there is an optical or eye-like feature on the south pole of Saturn. And we understand also that Saturn most likely means Satan, the entity that actually controls our reality here through the fall of man, through sin. We're locked in the cube, a cube being a three-dimensional hexagonal image. That's on the North Pole of Saturn. That's on the South Pole of Saturn. Now, T alphanumerically is 20, and 20 is 2020th year since Jesus Christ was born a man on this earth. Falls on September 14th of this year. Coincidentally, my daughter will be 20 years old. Here, Frank enters the Nazi cube time machine, and you see the 88 as the doors illuminate, hidden in plain sight. How do I know it's the Nazi time cube machine? Because just after his little badge with a T on it, which gets him admission into the small world ride, which takes him to the time machine, it's illuminated by this Eiffel Tower looking device. It shoots a red laser onto his badge, which converts him to a secret trapdoor where he finds the time machine. But just before that happens, here we see the 88 on the chairs. 88. Here's the shot of it illuminating the laser onto his badge. And then we see the Secret Service cube. Secret Service being the secret Nazi arm of the military. Now, you'll see it twice. SS, SS, again. And remember, when he left the door on the exit, which is the scene we showed prior to this, we saw the 88 on the door as well. The 88 door is open, and we see the SS right next to it here in this space here. Let's see if we can... There. And just after he exits this time machine, these two large spaceships basically plot out these two helical DNA type strands, which is again an 88. Wow. Now, Police State Radio has done some recent work on the Hoover Dam, and in that video, he references some of my videos, but he also talks about how the Nazis were related to the World Trade Center story and the 88. And it's curious, just after this boy exits the time machine, he falls from a platform, and he's got his jetpack with him, and he falls through this layer where he can see clearly the horizon. And in the horizon, we see the Twin Towers reference. And we just saw the other Nazi references related to this event as well.
I have to assume they believed even the teeniest of actions could change the future. How can you be sure? Because I know how things work.
Why are they taking the platform down?
Because it's hard to have ideas and easy to give up.
But you won't. Right?
Never. There are two wolves. You told me this story my entire life, and now I'm telling you. There are two wolves, and they're always fighting. One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope. Which wolf wins? Okay, fine, don't answer.
Whichever one you feed.
Good. Eat. Come on.
Intensifying weather patterns, they're all punching, are one-way ticket to dystopia. By definition, not perfect. Huxley's Brave New World, Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, Orwell's 1984. Once considered fiction, these futuristic novels are actually happening right now, and they seem to be getting worse. Yes, Miss Newton.
Can we fix it?
Sorry?
I get things are bad, but what are we doing to fix it?
Have a good weekend, everybody.
So again, this is Casey Newton from the film, and she keeps sneaking into NASA. And we've done a lot of work on NASA and looked at the word NASA and seen that there's actually a T that's formed in between the S and the A. And so it can say the word NASTA with a T, which when you scramble that word, it spells Satan. So she sneaks into NASA many times to try to sabotage some kind of a platform. And so we see some pretty amazing synchronicities comparing this character to myself, which I know sounds unbelievable, but as I've just demonstrated to you, and for those of you that have been on this channel for the last couple of years, you'll know that this is true. Now, her last name is Newton, and there's another crazy synchronicity. We've been doing a lot of research on Newton Minow, the person who gave Barack Obama his identity, introduced him to Michelle Obama, his wife, and gave him one of his first jobs as an intern in his law firm. So I believe all this is connected. So in Newton's second attempt to infiltrate NASA, she gets in trouble. She gets caught. She goes to jail. And when she puts her hands up, she flashes the 666. And all of these are subliminals meant to discredit me. All right, so I know the sound quality is absolutely horrific, so I'll put a link to this so that I don't have to put you guys through that anymore. But let's keep going. Now, at some point back in 2015, and I think I had to take the video down because it was about Tom Hanks, and anybody that said anything bad about Tom Hanks back then was deleted. So I think I removed the Castaway decode that we did on Castaway with Tom Hanks, where he gets stranded on the desert island. But we did notice that 923 appeared in that film as well. So all of a sudden we had a pattern. Now here's a screenshot from the film, and as you can see, there is 923. This is the dead guy that Tom Hanks pulls out of the water. He pulls his wallet out, and the guy, I think that says, is that his birth date? That's his birthday, 9/23/87. Now, this is crazy because, remember, 1987 was the halfway point to 9/11. Buildings opened in 73. 14 years later, Building 7 was opened in 1987, in the Hebrew year 5487. Then 14 years later, they all fell down. Remember, 329 is the 88th day of the year, and the Twin Towers were two 8-sided columns. They had beveled edges. That's why they shined 88 xenon lights up every 9/11, because they know that it's 88. It was what it was all about to begin with. So this is weird that this appears on this guy's driver's license in the film. There's also this It's actually, that's his FedEx license. But here's his driver's license. And it looks like he was born on 6/19. I think that says. And he's from Australia, New South Wales. But look at his date of birth here. I'm sorry. The license number is 116, which is 9/11 upside down. So there's some synchronicities in these numbers, aren't there? Now, let's keep going to, let me check in with you guys and we'll get into the next video here. Good morning, everybody. So it's 9:23. We're going back through all the 9:23 videos that we've done, going back to the beginning a decade ago. I think at this point, we realized that 9:23 was 3:29 backwards. Let's look at this next decode here. Hey guys, enter the stars. And I really don't know what to say about this. Go and check out Dan Barrett's video. You know, I decode a lot of stuff, but sometimes I miss the things that are right in front of my face. And there's been a lot of talk about September 23rd and what that could mean. Now, obviously, this is far, far out of my hands in terms of popularity. I'm just a channel with 20,000 subscribers. So this September 23rd date didn't happen because of anything I popularized. In fact, I've kind of stayed away from this date because I'm not a prophet. I don't look at the future events. I look more at the past and the present. But what Dan identified here was that the date of September 23rd is my birthday backwards, 3/29. March 29th is the 88th day of the year, as we discussed. The animated film My Pet Goat 2 released 88 days after my birthday on June 25th in 2012, which happens to be the date that Michael Jackson died, June 25th, but years earlier. So there's something very cryptic and weird going on. And again, I don't tell you these synchronicities to glorify myself. That's not what this is about. I believe that each and every one of us has a Christ imprint into our biological makeup and the synchronicities within our life, if we just choose to seek them out. All right, next video, Lady Gaga, Pluto, Hades, Hercules, and the September 23rd prophecy. Let's go to this next video here. I'm going to turn off the music. June 27th. 178th day of the year with 187 remaining. That's a mirror date. Now, a lot of these early decodes were weighted heavily in the numbers. We've kind of gone away from that, but you got to look at the numbers as well. Let's see here. In 18 years, precisely, the planets will align. This is from, let's see, what is this from? This is from the movie Hercules. In the transcript there. In 18 years, the planets will align. Hades, Hades, Hades. And this is the ancient mythology. Let's see here. Pluto, ruler of the underworld. June 27th is when the film released. Hercules. Let's see if I give any commentary in this video. James Woods as Hades. Let's see here. There's James Woods. He was born April 18th. But 257 days left in the year. 108th day of the year. Oh, wow. So the anti-date of his birthday is September 14th, which is when the new year fell on in 2015. So that's why I pulled that up. Interesting. This is when we started looking at mirror dates, you guys. Every date has a mirror date in the calendar. And that was the new year of 2015. Interesting. Now, what is this? Oh, so this is where I showed you guys that it's likely on 9/11, 6 BC, when some people believe that Christ was born, it fell on a new year. That's what I'm showing you there. says here in the years, so it's 18 years. So I plug that in from 1997 when the film came out. I plug in 18 years later, which was in the script after 1997, and that landed on 2015. Now, obviously, nothing happened in that year that I could think of. I guess Trump became the president the following year, his first presidency. And you could say that might be the beginning of the end times. Who knows? But we're trying to piece together all the evidence to see where all this is headed, right? Because there's something to the date. We just don't know what it is yet. See if there's any sound. Nope, just soundtrack. All right. And it says here, the time to act will be at hand. Unleash the Titans. So that's after the 18 years, which was 2015. And he says, good. Then the once proud Zeus will finally fall, and you will rule all. Hades rule. So basically the opening of the pit in 2015 is what the script seemed to be saying. So take that for what you will, but that's what we decoded back then. Whoa, that's crazy. Many believe that AI was basically invented right around this time frame, so maybe that had something to do with this. Here's March 28th, the 87th or the 88th day of the year in leap years. That's just me showing you that. Lady Gaga. Wow, she was born on the eve of the 88th day of the year. Pretty crazy, you guys. And she even says, my mother worked 8 to 8 out of the house. Crazy. Convent of the Sacred Heart. So that's about it for that video. Now, what is this? 923 Doomsday will be live. Okay, we'll skip that one. Here's Labyrinth. Now this one's interesting because David Bowie literally says the date. Literally says the date 9/23. Let's watch this. Enter the stars. And on June 27th, 1986, a film was released on the 178th day of the year, with 187 left remaining in the end of the year. Remember, that was the date that the Hercules film released. Let's keep watching. And the obvious mirror here is 87. That film was Labyrinth, and it released in 1986. The very next year would be the halfway point to 9/11. 1987, the 14th year after 1973, and in another 14 years. In 2001, the World Trade Center would fall. Now, this is the cover movie poster for Labyrinth. We're going to be taking a look at this film. What we obviously see here is the pyramid and the all-seeing eye. Atop this, clear Illuminati symbolism. But what's interesting about this film is it is 101 minutes long. Check out Nicholson 1968. He talks a lot about the number 101. Trump was born 101 days before 9/23. I just found that yesterday, so this is significant. Let's keep watching. We had 102 minutes of terror on 9/11, and it occurred in 2001. November 28th is an interesting date as well. It is the 333rd day of the year with 33 left in leap years. Let's take a look at this film starring David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. So right off the bat, we get the lens Earth, the inner eye. We get three owls coming out of... I think we already saw this not too long ago. Let's go to the 9/23 here. David Bowie. Here we go. To get her brother back. And there's plenty of eyeball imagery within the Labyrinth. And we have David Bowie in leggings, a blouse, high heels, and long hair and makeup. Now this one you got to hear with your own ears. Unbelievable. Listen.
In 9 hours and 23 minutes. In 9 hours and 23 minutes.
In 9 hours and 23 minutes.
You'll be mine.
He says, you'll be mine. Now, there's one other part in this decode I wanted to show you because literally the number 9/11 appears on the wall. Let's take a look. See, no evil is missing. You see? This is what they do. Here are the door knockers here. One was, here's the bombshell, 9/11. On the wall, just before they go into the stink bog. There's your 9, and there is 11. Now, you guys have heard me mention on this channel many times that Jesus... Okay, what else do we have? 6/23/2015. Okay, that's something else. More 9/23. Blacklist. Okay, whoa. Appears in Blacklist. Let's take a look. Looks like we're already almost through these. All right, you guys, packed show today. I was out walking the property. I've got a new plan for tomorrow for the... Let's see. Let's skip to the meat of this here. I'll get between the headlines tomorrow. Today, all of us who drink coffee are better than others. We're you in the bottom of the cup, right? Coffee gaffs it out, and it explains everything in my life. So my limit, and I enjoy it. Oh, come on! Now I know how you guys feel. Get to the point, Casey. Okay, sorry. You know, and drinking coffee, and the same goes with alcohol. And now, what else is going on? Well, we're going to do a quick follow-up on the 9/23 show that we did yesterday. Before we get into the headlines, because there was a lot of good comments from that show. I want to highlight some of the comments. I'm not going to show the comment, but I'll show you what people said in the comments to add to the mystery of the number 9/23. Now, this streamed 2 years ago, so now we're getting close to the present. Let's keep watching. And I believe we're getting very close to unlocking some of the secrets of 9/23. One of you actually thought that 9/23 could be a reference to the Bible. This particular scripture here in Haggai, chapter 2, talks about when the temple foundation was laid. Let's read it. It says, "Consider now, from this day and upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, consider it." Now, this is interesting because it's not 9/24. It's not 9/23. It's actually 9/24. It's the day after 9/23. And of course, this isn't our 9th month in our, Gregorian calendar. This is the 9th month in the Hebrew calendar. So it's different. But what better way for the enemy to try to mock the Most High than to come up with his own 9/23 date just before the 9/24 date mentioned in Haggai. So this could be mockery. Now, what's up with this? What is up with this 9th day, month and 24th day mentioned in Haggai? Well, some believe that the Hebrew New Year in some years can fall on 9/23. Whoa. And that date floats in our Gregorian. Whoa, that would be this year. So we're starting to zero in on this, aren't we? Whoa, this is crazy. Let's keep listening. Gregorian calendar. We even believe that the Hebrew New Year could fall on 9/11 as well in some years. In fact, the Ethiopian calendar has 9/11 as their Hebrew New Year in their calendar. So there's something to this. And maybe the New Year is when the temple was laid, right? So that's an interesting theory. This would be the perfect date that the enemy would choose to wage war on the Most High with his crucifixion ritual of 9/11, right? He would do that on the new year of the Hebrew calendar just to mock God. Let me break down what I just said about the crucifixion ritual of 9/11, because it was absolutely a crucifixion ritual. Now, I'm going to go back into the chat here and explain that more fully, because it looks like we're almost through these 9/23 decodes. There's one more video after this one. So let's spend a little bit of time on the 9/11 crucifixion ritual, since 'tis the season, right? So what is that? Well, if you think about it, as I just explained to you, the entire World Trade Center stood for 28 total years. Well, there's something interesting in Jesus' words. He talked about his lineage. 14, 14, and 14 generations is what he explained. Well, 14 and 14 is 28. And Jesus was it was a sacrifice. And he was placed, I believe he represented building 7 between the two twin towers, between the two thieves at the crucifixion. And that what he was really signaling to us when he was talking about the 14 and 14 and 14 generations was the full spectrum of color. Yes, 42 represents the rainbow. You can only see a rainbow at 42 degrees. It's the full spectrum of color, but it's only visible at 42, which is 14, 14, and 14. And what Jesus did was the sacrifice part of it. This is why we have a 28-day cycle. This is why every 28 days, a woman will have her menses. It was set in motion since the beginning, since sin entered the world. The birth pangs is basically, without a child, it would be the monthly cycle, the cramps, the birth pangs. And once we were stuck in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, was part of it. Adam's curse was to toil in the dust by the sweat of his brow. So something physiologically changed within us. And that whole thing was recreated in the 9/11 event, with the two towers being the two thieves, Jesus being building 7, crucified between the two thieves, all of it being turned to dust, right? Because dust was the curse of the dust. Adam toiling in the fields, in the dust, the serpent licking the dust, all the days, licking the dust was the curse of the serpent. So this was a ritual, wasn't it? And then what did they build in its place or near it? Well, that would be called the path hub. Remember the path hub, which looks just like a dove. A dove, which was representative of the Holy Spirit. Now, of course, the controllers and the people that designed all this stuff, they don't say any of this because they're trying to create a ritual out of it. It would be one thing if they came forward and said, you know what, we built the Twin Towers to represent Jesus' sacrifice. It would be one thing if they said that and it was out in the open. But no, all this is a cult. Now, pray about this. And when you look, next time you look at a picture of the Twin Towers in Building 7, and you see that they all came down, think to yourself what that means and pray about it. And ask God to release the Holy Spirit so that you can understand. And I am 100% confident you will see the same thing. Like, that's what it was. It was a ritual, because what did they build in its place? They built the superhuman in its place, didn't they? They tore down the right and left, and they put it all together in the Freedom Tower, which is an anti-prism that was all smashed together. It was two buildings smashed together. That's the transhumanism. It was all futuristic looking. It was in the shape of a sulfur molecule, which they call an anti-prism, which is a sulfur molecule. It looks like the Wonder Woman logo. Now, we had covered all this over the years, but that's a quick synopsis of the ritual, the crucifixion ritual that we call 9/11. Now, why did they do it on 9/11? Well, there for a few reasons. Because, as I showed you in some of these earlier decodes, that's the date that we thought in 6 BC, the new year, which is when Jesus was born. So, time will tell, and all things will be revealed. These are just inspirations of the Holy Spirit, and so we'll have to figure out if this is all true at some point. Now, let's get back into this, finish this up here with the 9/11 crucifixion ritual. Now, if you don't know what the crucifixion ritual is of 9/11, then, gosh, I'm trying to think of a specific video that we've done where we talked about that. All thieves at the crucifixion, Building 7 was Jesus between the two thieves. And they were hit with the planes, which were, well, this is what they tell us, right? Obviously, I don't believe that to be true. But they were hit with the planes, which represented the nails being driven into the tree and through the heels and the hands. So that's a quick overview of it. It's a lot more detail that goes into it, but the metaphors are impeccable. No, I mean, even if you think about the Pentagon that was hit, right? That's like the shape of man, isn't it? Pentagon is the shape of man. It's the Michelangelo. It's the two arms outstretched, two legs outstretched, and the head is the shape of a pentagon. So, and the planes were like the nails being driven in. Undeniable, in my opinion. Now, what else is going on with 923? Well, many of you also realized that 923 seconds is just over 15 minutes. So there's your 15-minute city, right? 923. Now, what else about the number 923? Well, others of you realize that 923 inches is 76 feet. It's almost 77 feet, but it is 76 feet. Now, what's that about? Well, if you tuned into yesterday's show, you saw us cover the Westinghouse time capsules that were 7 feet, 6 inches long, and placed, one of them was placed on 923, 1938. Whoa. The other one was placed with 76 days left in the year. So, all of this stuff is related, and these people very carefully hide things in plain sight through their numbers. And God has given us the ability to see these numbers. Why? Because he probably wants to help us prepare for the last days and not be deceived by the enemy's tricks. So therefore, we've been given eyes to see all this stuff. You guys see it too. So that's the update on 9/23. Let me go check in with you guys. See what's... Okay, so last video. Let's see what this one's about. It says 555 is 666. Passport. On the passports. Oh, and more 923 secrets. Let's get to the 923 secrets. Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Before we get started today, this is very, very important. I uploaded a video, I think it was Friday or Saturday. It was on the blacklist, and I put the link here in this pinned comment. So after the show, click on this pinned comment that's in the chat here, and there's your link to the show that I'm referencing. Now, why is the show important? Well, YouTube has somehow... Here, let's go back here. Let me give you one last example, and that is this. Many, 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 many people that we love got tricked into getting the sticker, didn't they? And there are actual YouTube channels out now. There are a lot of really awesome people, loving people, very good Christians, right? Very good Christians, many of which are more dedicated to the Most High than even myself or many of you. And sadly, we saw them take it, and we saw them suffer. Let's get back to this here. While being the final, you feel you're forced to tell the people in the nurse. So hopefully you can use critical thinking. And I think we had talked about this before, but I had forgotten. 9/23, that date of infamy. Whoa. Look on your screen. Whoa. There's another Trump connection. I remember Trump was born 101 days before 9/23. And 9/23, today's date, actually falls on the 266th day of the year with 99 remaining. That's a mirror. Holy smokes, I forgot about this. Remember, Trump is like Mr. 66. He's also 88. He's basically the Gemini president. Everything's double digits with him. 66, 88, 99 red balloons, which was the disease, COVID disease. Let's keep watching here. Now we know the significance of 9/23. It is the 266th day of the year with 99 remaining. Wait, didn't we see another 96 in this first decode? What was it? It was on it was on the driver's license. 9/23 confirmed, kinda. 6/19. Okay, let's keep going. Shocking. 66/99. This is probably why they chose this date, to seed into all of these movies, TV shows, and commercials. 9/23. Now, what that means, well, 66/99, that's the yin and yang. But it's also a portal number to some degree, and all kinds of other things associated with this as well. The going in, the coming out, the 66, the 99. The 99 red balloons. At some point, 9/23 will be a date of infamy. There's too much programming for it not to be. Now, tomorrow will be live again. All right, so that's it. I'll put a link to that playlist if you want to dive deeper. Now I'm back in the chat. Good morning, everybody. And apparently this New Year thing we'd identified an entire decade ago has come back full circle, hasn't it? It's now falling on 9/23. Look at YouTube. So we must be over the target. They keep getting us stuck at 666 viewers, even when it goes up to 680, 690. So, all right, I'm in the chat, you guys. Who's hitting on their daughter's girlfriend? Please read Isaiah 6, 8 through 12. Year's almost over. Yep. First day of 5786. Interesting. Let's watch the movie 23. I need to take another look at that, actually. Now understand, in the Ethiopian calendar, 9/11 is the new year. Every year. I think that they were marking the birth of Jesus Christ. That's what I think all of this goes back to. It will be interesting if something happens today. But like I said, I don't like the date set. We just watch the dates and we try to gather as much information as possible. Yeah, where did the 23andMe data go? Very good question. Have I ever decoded The Walking Dead? I don't think so. I might have decoded a few episodes here and there, but I don't think I decoded like much of it. I know I've screened a lot of it, but I don't think I've done full decodes. You should gather some Superman movie breakdowns. Yes, I've done at least a handful of Superman videos. The most striking one was when we looked at Trump Tower next door to the IBM building. The IBM building from the air looks like the Superman chest plate. And then Trump Tower from the air looks like the bat boomerang. So it's Batman versus Superman. All right. So hopefully the show was helpful today. I think it did, actually. It opened my eyes, definitely, to look back at the progression of research. It seems to be centered around a new year, the Hebrew New Year. So pretty interesting. We shall see. Well, what else, you guys? Now, tomorrow we'll get into some of the headlines. Trump saying that Tylenol is the cause of, even though Tylenol's been around long before this recent surge in autism, right? Because it kind of surged in the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s is when we saw a huge surge in autism. Tylenol was out decades before that. So how can that be, right? Because wouldn't you see a direct correlation of when Tylenol hit the market? Wouldn't that be when you'd see autism? But apparently they have an answer, which I don't believe, but that's what they're saying. We'll cover that tomorrow in some other headlines as well. All right. They have been giving drugs out like candy for 50 years. Yep, they sure have. You have to sign a waiver before the shot. Yeah, Tylenol's been out 63 years, but yet autism didn't start until like I said, the 90s, 2000s. You guys, you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Okay, I graduated high school in 91. We had one special needs class. One special needs class. And I went to a high school with I think there were 2,000 students. My graduating class was 250 students, something like that. And we had one special needs class, and that class actually even bussed kids in from other schools. So out of the whole school district, there of that age group, there was 10, maybe 20 students. Gay students, maybe 5 in the whole high school that were openly gay. Now, they allowed that back then. Everybody knew who those students were. But, people respected them. There were just effeminate boys We all knew they were probably gay, but back then I don't remember really thinking about what they were doing behind closed doors. Because, you know, you're at that age, you don't really know. You think you know everything about sex and everything, and you have an idea of it, but you're not really thinking about those things, right? There were like 5 gay students, maybe. And they were just over the top effeminate, right? Out of 2,000 kids, you guys, what happened? Now it's like 25% to 50% of students in that age group. This is just the truth, okay? It's the truth. So people could say, oh, well, more people were gay back then. They just couldn't come out of the closet. No, sorry. It's not the case. The truth is something changed. Something was introduced into humanity that like caused this, or culture, whatever you want to say. But, yeah. All right. What else is going on, you guys? Yeah, our high school was respectful. You know, we thought, okay, you know, that's going to happen sometimes. And they weren't like harmed or made fun of or anything like that. Psy Artbox says atrazine, glyphosate. Yep, could be. Doesn't it turn the frogs different things? All right. And those that grew up, okay, share your okay, let's do this. Let's do a poll here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Start a poll, because don't just take my testimony. Okay. If you went to high school in the 90s, how many, we're going to spell it wrong, students went to your school? Oh, that's not a yes or no answer. Okay, let's do this. Were there more than 10? Were there more than 10 gay students at your high school? Okay, there you go. Start the poll. All right. Now I'm curious to see what this is, because maybe it was just where I lived. Maybe I lived in a conservative area. So weird. Like back then, no one even talked about politics, did they? No one talked about politics. And basically, the only thing I can think of that was like a big deal was the Gulf War, the first Bush's dad, and, you know, that whole thing. This was pre 9/11. We were already over there messing around in the desert, weren't we? Desert Storm, Gulf War, and all that in the 90s. And, you know, the society was brainwashed into just supporting that, right? We all believe we had to be there for some reason. And I can't even remember what triggered that. What triggered like the first war were we in Iraq? We were in Iraq. Saddam Hussein, very evil man. That's all I remember. That was Bush Sr. Very evil man, Saddam Hussein. You have to remember your history. If you don't remember your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Let's see. The poll says, no, most people did not have more than 10 gay people in their school, in their high school, that grew up in the 90s. So something changed. That's what Trump should be looking into. That's what RFK Jr. should be looking into. I'm going to end the poll there. Thanks for that, you guys. What was the purpose of Desert Storm? Why did we go over there? Very evil man, Saddam Hussein. They used to make fun of Bush Sr. They did make fun of him in the late night talk shows, didn't they? They made fun of him. I remember the skits. But as, as young people, we just didn't really talk about politics. Even when I got into college, there was no talk of politics. We were too busy partying and having fun and going to school. Nobody brought up politics. Saddam Hussein, very evil man. Very evil. Remember that? So, what was the official story? Oh, because they said he attacked Kuwait? Wasn't it that? Or he gassed the people? I don't know. I can't remember. Estrogen added to processed foods. Is that what happened? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if you didn't hear by now, Jimmy Kimmel got reinstated. So he got talked to, right? When in your life, what the heck? What happened to my screen here? When in your life have you heard of the left like giving in to the right? Trump has a lot of power, you guys. But he must have got talked to, and now he can come back, but I'm sure he's going to be real careful what he says from now on. I remember a gay person in junior high, but none in high school, but the gym teachers, says Betty. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? That's true. So in middle school, my gym teachers there were two women, and they were gay. That is so creepy. And so your school had gay gym teachers too. I wonder if that's a pattern. How many of you have had gay gym teachers? Okay, let's do a poll. We got to do this. Let's do this. Engage with your audience. Okay, start a poll. Did you ever have a gay gym teacher? Start the poll. This will be interesting. Oh my gosh. What if like 90% of you had... Whoa. Uh-oh. Thought they were moving my poll. 3/4 of you had gay gym teachers. And I didn't even ask male or female. Mine were all female. They were female. But that's creepy. There's something to that, right? See, gaslighting occurs when our government and our official stories tell us that the truth isn't the truth. When they try to... This is why it's so important to have independent media where the person who's presenting, like myself, is actually talking to you and figuring out what really your experience is so you don't feel like you're going crazy. Because imagine if someone said, there's no pattern to that. That's not real. But we just did a poll. 3/4 of you had gay gym teachers. So that's crazy. So now that's real, isn't it? Wow. Wonder what that's about. We need to look into that. Ooh, I wonder if it was part of the programming. Think about it. Gym is the place where I felt the least comfortable. It was where I felt vulnerable in school, right? Because they made you do weird stuff, like get dressed in front of people. Like, who does that? Like, why did we have to do that? Oh, I used to dread like swimming because you had to actually put on your swim trunks. You had to take your pants off and put on your swim trunks. And then they put things in, they put showers in there and all this to basically promote you, like, to basically make it normal for you to be undressed in front of people. It's almost like programming for you to take your clothes off in front of people, right? So now we find out that most of us have had gay gym teachers. That's weird. It wasn't natural, was it? A lot of children don't even get undressed in front of their own parents. But now you're supposed to get undressed in front of a bunch of strangers so they can look at your body and criticize you and all this. Creepy. Trauma-based mind control. I think you guys are right. See, this is why they hate this channel, because we tell the truth. We find the truth no matter what. We're going to get down to the bottom of it. Wouldn't it be cool if we had like 20,000 people watching and we did these kind of polls? Oh man, we would break the internet. They would have to shut us down. They'd be like, oh man, you can't do that. Then they would try to discredit the poll. They'd say, that poll is not properly done under the, experimental settings, so it is therefore wrong. But, wow. Crazy. More polls, says Ken Walking 8. Yeah. Crazy. And then, you knew the kids that were abused because they were just they would just bust out, wouldn't they? They'd be like nothing. Like they didn't care they were naked. And you're like, that's not normal. That's not normal. What happened to you? It's crazy. Wow. Bonnie says her teacher she was disgusted. She was afraid of her. Yeah. Yeah, so my experience was middle school. And first of all, why do you need 2 gym teachers? But it was these 2 women, and they both had really, really short haircuts, and they were kind of manly. That's all I remember. I didn't know till later in life that they were probably, gay, and that they were probably like lovers. And I'm not going to out their name because, that's their own private life. But yeah, it was weird. Like, I just remember them looking at us weird or something. And then they would send us out for a run, and then they'd be all chitty-chatting it up. Now, I never saw anything inappropriate between the 2 of them. But looking back, they were definitely gay lovers that were given jobs to hang out with each other all day. And that's pretty creepy. So, yeah, school itself is just weird, isn't it? I did not do, I didn't like school. I did well in school, but I hated it. Okay, let's end this poll here. So about 2/3 of you in the poll. That's statistically significant. Okay. Our female gym teacher was lovers with the only female cop. Wow. Yeah, and then they were always at the same school, even though they might not have both been gym teachers. It was the 2 gay people worked at the school, which isn't supposed to happen, right? You're not supposed to have romantic relationships in school. That was supposed to be off limits. But, just an observation. Daryl, Brokeback Jam. That's funny. It was almost like they were predictively programming us. More trauma-based mind control, right? Or, I'm not going to say it, but we all know maybe these people sought out these positions because of whatever, right? Okay, I heard someone compare Disney movies to school. Kid leaves or disobeys their parents and meets a motley crew of new friends while on an extravagant adventure. Yes, predators go where the prey is. Yeah, I guess we could talk about strange teachers. Have you guys had any strange teacher experiences? I already told you guys about the witch teacher I had. I think she was a witch. I think she was. And she tried to groom me. This was in middle school. So she went to my mom. I think I told you guys this story. This is when they tried to, basically Hollywood came after me. They tried to recruit me back when I was in middle school. You guys, this is where you get into targeted individuals and stuff like this. But I've told you guys this story before. So I had this art teacher, and she was really creepy. She would always wear purple, and she always wore this low-cut top with the cleavage, and she would always bend over my desk. And I was like, what is this woman doing? Now, there was no attraction whatsoever, but she had a fascination with me or something. So she called the local newspaper. There's literally a picture of me. I think it was in the Lodi News Sentinel. And they came out to my house and they took pictures. There's pictures of me in the Lodi News Sentinel from middle school. And I'm holding up my artwork. And that was because of my teacher. And the art, I look back at those pictures, the art really even wasn't that good. It was marginal. But for some reason, it opened doors for me. And then she's like, she went to my mom. She's like, we need to enter his information and try to get the scholarship for this summer school program. It's a brand new summer school program in California. And this is really an open doors for him. And so miraculously, we entered my work in there and I won. So I got a free scholarship to go to this exclusive art school. It's called the California Summer State School for the Arts. Some huge actors went there. Zac Efron went there, but he went the year after I did. And basically, I went the very first year. There was a big deal. There was a luncheon, which is also that one's in the Stockton Record, because I accepted the scholarship at University of Pacific in Stockton, and they threw a huge luncheon for us, and we got medallions that were imprinted with the senator at the time. Can't remember who it was, but anyway. And then all the students who won scholarships or whose parents paid for them to go were at this luncheon. I can't remember who was there. I want to say the senator was there, but I can't confirm that. But it's on record. You can look all this up if you are willing to go into the archives. So anyway, I go to this school, and this is the school I told you guys about, where the Star Wars people, now it wasn't George Lucas, but it was one of the producers, came to the school, and they had an animation program, and that was like the exclusive program, because it was everything. It was art, dance. It was, I was just in the straight art program, but they had animation, dance, art, music. All of this was at this school. And I remember just feeling completely lost. Like, I was out of my element. I didn't enjoy the experience. It was just weird to me. It's like I knew all the way back then that there was something really occult going on. And I was like, what is going on here? There are sometimes I think, I wonder if my mom was in on this, because I grew up JW. And I was like, maybe I was targeted individuals. Now, I'm not trying to be paranoid or anything, but you got to wonder sometimes, don't you? So anyways, I'm at this school. You ready for this? This is where John Lasseter of Pixar went to school. The whole famed A113, that's actually a room number at that school. And I've actually been in that room before. I remember it distinctly. Now, at that time in the 1980s, I think it was actually 1988, to be honest with you, it was the year before I went to high school. And JW is a cult. I realized that very quickly. When I was in college, a grade school friend, reached out to me. I think it was actually after college. And he's like, Casey, we were in a cult. And I'm like, what? At first I didn't get it. And he's like, yeah, we were in a cult. And I'm like, whoa. And he showed me all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, you guys, there is a battle for your soul. There are forces at play depending on what role you're supposed to play in the end times. Well, who you work for. Do you work for Satan or do you work for the Most High? And some of us have, I don't want to call it a destiny, but God knows you in the womb, and he knows the beginning from the end. So each play a role, right? So anyway, I'm getting sidelined here. Let me go back. So later in life, I realized I was in a cult. But before that, I didn't know. I was born into this, right? So I'm at this school. This is the school that John Lasseter went to as well. Started Pixar out of this school, which of course is the famed Toy Story. All the stuff we decode and expose, you guys. Crazy, right? Small world. And what else happened at this school? So I was just doing artwork, just drawing with different mediums, pencil and things like that. And the makers of Star Wars came in and they're like, we're going to do another trilogy. Because remember, at that time, all there was Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And everybody thought it was over. Well, the makers of Star Wars came and they spoke to us in an auditorium at the school. And they're like, this is top secret, and this has not been announced to the public. I guess they thought since we were children that nobody was going to believe us anyway. We're doing another trilogy, and da da da. They told us some facts about it. I remember going home after that summer program and telling all my friends, and they're like, you just think you're important, you're stupid, like we don't believe you. And then sure enough, you know, the next trilogy came out, and that the rest was history. I mean, Star Wars, that propelled Star Wars, the whole franchise, into the stratosphere, you know. So anyway, when I told the story this first time, I mentioned to you that before I went to the program, they sent home a note. It was a typewritten note, a letter, and literally it said what to bring and this and that. But there was a strange entry on the letter. And last time I was at my mom's house, I looked and looked and looked for this letter because I keep a lot of this stuff, you know. I looked and looked and looked for it. I could not find this letter. But I remember it specifically because I remember it standing out to me. Because back then, I was already starting to cut my own hair. Because I've cut my hair my whole life, my own hair, just because I don't have time to go to a barber. And I just get a mirror and I sit on the sink and I look and you can see the back of your head, right? And even in college, I was doing a lot of cutting all of my friends' hair. I would do it for like a 40 ounce of malt liquor. So that was the trade, right? They bring me a 40. Usually the 40 was already drank before the haircut was done. And I told you guys a story of one time we were looking in the mirror and we were carving, you know, letters into our head because we would shave our heads and carve letters into it in college. And we were like 3/4 of the way through a Crazy Horse 40 ounce malt liquor. And we were tripping out. We're like, and my friend's like, that is cool. Cause I had carved KC into my head. And then we both looked at each other and we realized we were looking in the mirror and it was backwards. We're like, oh, but you can't undo that, right? Because it's carved in your head. Anyway. So, where was I going with that? Wait, why did I get onto that? Oh, back to the hair clippers. So during the summer art program, on the letter, it said, no scissors or hair clippers were allowed, even on the campus. You were not allowed to cut your hair. And by the end of the program, we all had like afros and long hair because we're not allowed to cut our hair. And that was looking back now with our minds that we have now, right? When you're back then, you're asleep. Like humanity was so much more asleep back then. And then like we started to wake up to the occult and how we're being manipulated. And there's this predator class, I call them, of the controllers. They're a predator class. They prey on all of us. And those of us that are awake to it, we do not succumb to their devices. But for all the people that are asleep, they keep chewing the same gum. They keep running into the same issues in their life because this is what the predator class does. They feed off of us. They're like vampires. So looking back, I'm like, ooh, what were they up to with that? See, back then, nobody thought twice about it. Oh, you can't bring clippers? My mom didn't even think to ask. Like, why can't he bring clippers? You know, nope, it's not allowed. So now we know. Has something to do with your spiritual connection to the Most High, probably. Or maybe they were trying to tap in or interrupt the spiritual connection. Maybe there were students who they recruited who they already knew had a spiritual connection and they wanted to view that, maybe remote view. Maybe they were all down in a basement, like doing a seance, trying to like tap into us somehow, to our energy. So very crazy, you guys, very crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world that we don't even know about. But we will never stop looking for the truth about all this. We will not. So, all right, enough about me. Bored kids with scissors equals trouble. Yeah, it wasn't just scissors though, Julie. It was clippers. They said specifically clippers. No cutting of the hair. They said you cannot cut your hair while you're here. They didn't say why, but they just said you can't. So, Bill says, I bought electric hair clippers from been cutting his hair ever since. Some of you just cut your hair. Interesting. All right. I guess we've been on here long enough. I love you guys, and thanks for showing up today. We'll be back tomorrow with the headlines. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Much love.